Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my daily plan. I got a little headline: more U.S. September import prices, not whatever. Okay, market doesn't seem to care about that one, so I don't seem to care. Okay, so quick context and good morning. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. Yesterday, I make sure to or try to be on time here for YouTube and Twitter live stream. I got my post out a little late to my subscribers, and then realized as I thought about it that was backwards. Pardon my French. My obligation first is to my subscribers, and then to my viewers. And so I'm a little bit late because I wanted to make sure that I got everything out to my subscribers first. I'll try to tighten up my timing in the morning. Anyway, so just a quick FYI. So Bad Hombre, Truly, aka Bad Hombre, won't be here today. So it's just me. And let's kind of talk about where we are. So futures, and we may or may not go back and review yesterday. Yesterday was just a typical range day, consolidation day, no key levels really broke. We retested 68.50 on top and kind of undercut 6,800. I mean, 68.15-ish on the bottom and kind of finished within the range. The thing of interest yesterday, and I'll talk about a little more granularly in a minute, was what happened with the VIX and the 9-day VIX. Remember yesterday I pointed out that they were almost even at the beginning of the day. Typically there's a 1.5 points to 2 points or even more difference, indicating that market participants were more concerned, or a lot of the local volatility was elevated, which kind of spilled out a little bit into some morning weakness before we kind of regained our footing, and the VIX 9-day kind of difference between the VIX and the VIX 9-day contracted to normal. I don't see any comments there on YouTube or on Twitter, so if you're there, let me know. Not that I mind talking to myself anyway. Anyway, I didn't send out my announcements, whatever, but I figure you guys know by now. Okay. Thank you, Sherm. Okay. So moving right along. So, I mean, the way I look at it, the algos are basically in pre-FOMC mode. You're just kind of jockeying a little bit for a position. Of interest yesterday, I forgot to mention in my note, or I mentioned it and then I kind of edited it out or whatever. Bitcoin yesterday had a bounce. Oh, good morning. There's everybody. Yay, I like the good mornings. Bitcoin had a bounce. And we'll just use IBIT as a default. You see here with yesterday, IBIT went from below 50 to above 50. And the reason I'm talking about this, other than the fact that I trade IBIT, more generally, two things. One, Bitcoin we can think of as a risk on, risk off indicator. And yeah, that's true. I think that might be a tad simplistic or just part of the story. The other part of the story is, and I've been talking about this ad nauseum, you guys are probably, you may be tired of hearing me talk about it. The CTA, the Commodity Trend Advisors, hedge funds that are long Bitcoin or short Bitcoin, whatever, obviously long. As Bitcoin goes down with its high leverage, they have to lighten up in their Bitcoin exposure at a more dramatic rate than, let's just say, SPX E-mini, and that also results in having to sell in other entities that are long Bitcoin and having to sell E-mini futures or sell something to finance the whole Bitcoin mess. I didn't explain it very elegantly, but the idea is that it's reflexive and creates selling in E-mini and in other areas, not directly related to Bitcoin per se, but in the whole net of fragility that is our current market. Okay, so Bitcoin bounced, and here we are right up near 6850, the local top. And so inquiring minds want to know what's going to happen here. Well, there's Danny. I DM'd you, you DM me, Danny. I forgot where we're up to. So we'll pick up on that after the bullets stop flying. Okay, so here we are. So what do I expect for today? Oh yeah, also we had some software names yesterday. Marvell, I saw was down in the pre-market and in the post-market. Then I thought it was up. I'm not sure how it's doing, but the main point is not Marvell in particular or Okta in particular. It's how the reaction spills over into the adjacencies, into the Mag 7 names and into the broader names that have weights in the indices. Breath yesterday kind of sucked. Was kind of, well, not didn't suck. Was mixed. You know, I was watching the advanced decliners during the day, and at some points there were a lot of decliners, and then some more advances. But it kind of shook out, as you can see here, as you may be able to see here, to be basically a mixed breath. Even Steven, no harm, no foul. Okay, let's see. All right, so the straddle, when I looked at it before, was about 28 points, so giving it a 30-point range. When I looked at it, we were 45, so the bottom of the expected move was 68.15, and the top was around 68.80, and you'll see in a moment why 68.80 is the mathematical top, but there's also a lot of gamma structure implications up there. Short version preview looks like it's going to be hard to get through that. Okay, now let me switch to good morning, Selena. Where are we? Okay, let's switch gears. Okay, so here's options depth, the market maker positioning. To the right is market maker long, customer short, positive gamma, quote unquote, supportive, sticky, mean reverting kind of action. To the left is market maker short, accelerant, goes in the direction of the move, heads up, but then when we stall, kind of drops back down, versus positive gamma, mean revert, heads up, sells when we get there, near there, but then as we pull back, now the market makers are suddenly too short, and so they have to buy. So these zones become sticky, especially later in the day. Of course, none of that one line is in looking at isolation, so this becomes a big fat Greek dance. Okay, so what catches my eye? What's significant? So like I said, we're right here with 68.50, and we have this whole cluster really from 68.15 to 68.50 of positive gamma, supportive, sticky slot. And so we could easily slosh around here again for another day. If we're over 68.50, and we can kind of stay over here, retest, whatever. There's a little ladder path up right to 68.65. And then we kind of would stall out right here at 68.70. So now I want your eye to focus on this area 68.70 to 68.80. 3,000, pretty big positive gamma. Hard to get through that. Top of the expected move. Not saying we won't. I'm just saying it's hard. If we can somehow get through that, then we have some interest at 68.85 and 6,900, a whole sticky, choppy thing. And so if, especially toward the end of the day, we can get over 68.80, then we could look for some action retest near 6,900. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying if then, conditional. And then we would fail from up here. This would decay and push us down. And this would kind of attract us. And we could end up in this area, 68.70 to 68.80 broadly, if we're up here at the end of the day over this. If we're below this at the end of the day, but near it, similarly, we could kind of stick up toward the 70, 80, 75 area, kind of mean revert toward it. And here we're in the chop and slop area. Okay, I want to do something for a second. Because I thought this was fun. I did this yesterday. See that? Isn't that cute? I did this yesterday. One of my subscribers asked, what does one DTE look like? We did this yesterday at around 1 o'clock. And so we kind of played with this. And so maybe, and I put this in my notes for my subscribers. So you see, here's maybe an easier way to look at it. Here's a big positive gamma supportive area. Here meaning 67.80 and lower. We have moving averages below that. That's kind of where the Wednesday breakout was. So there's technical analysis or price action significance here as well as gamma. Here we have that kind of area where we're in now, 68.20 to 68.40, kind of sticky. Here's that 68.60, was 68.60 yesterday, now it grew to 68.65. And the upside target, if we can get there and the arrows go back down. If we fail, it becomes an attractant both directions. And then we have this big sticky chunk, and 68.80 grew as the day progressed. This is from yesterday at 1 o'clock. And the 6,900 kind of lost a little prominence as stuff grew around it. So I thought that was cute. I didn't have the time to redo that fancy thing. So that's where that's at. So that whole 68, 60, 70, this area is kind of going to be hard to get through. Let's look at it now in this context. So let's just kind of zoom in. Did that look right? I'm not sure. Let's take a look again. That looks a little wrong to me. I have to check again why the 67.70 is a magnet. I'm not really sure that I saw that, unless maybe I didn't look at the structure right. It looked to me to be supportive down there. But we'll look again. But this is the whole complex, not the 0 DTE. So there might be kind of a and the 0 DTE is one thing, but out in time, there's more interest over there. And so that might be how the math shakes out. Here's the 6840 area, kind of where we are, choppy, 6880, there's the top. We always get sellers showing up 1 and 2 DTE way out of the money, creating a ceiling, but also a mean reverting drift up with that. Okay, let's look at depth view. Here we can see the numbers clear, plain as day. So we were at 6830. We're going to open up here. And so you see if these numbers are accurate and these are updated, whatever, during the, I think starting from 7 a.m., I'm not sure what time, 6840, 30, this area looks supportive. We have positive gamma heading all the way down here. Oh yeah, here's why it is. Okay, so something must have changed since we have all these long puts down here at 6870, which I think they're fine. They're going to rot up and decay up and create some kind of buying flows, although by now they're a very low delta. Let's see what delta they are. Why do I care what delta they are? Tells us how much hedging the market makers have to do to. There was 7 delta, not that much. Here's 6874,000. Not that much buying back of short hedges that have to do right here, right now. However, should we go down and those become a 15-inch delta and they fail to materialize, say we get to 6815, that blows up a little bit, and then we bounce, stall, then those deltas erode, and then that becomes a source of fuel going upwards. So you have to kind of think, you don't have to do anything. It's useful to think 3-dimensionally. So we have all this zone down here in the below 6,800 with some puts that can be decay or accelerants. These numbers are small, 800, 200, down 68, 15, 6,800. So these can easily get overrun by intraday flows. This is pretty big here, 3,000 at 6,800, 6,880. So unlikely that we get through it, but we could. But there'd definitely be a battle zone. Oh, I hear the crows. Good. I fed the crows this morning. I don't know if you hear the crows through my window. I feed the crows. And crows activity cuts down a lot in the winter. We have about 6 inches of snow with drifts up to 2 feet here. And they're conserving energy. They barely even caw. They don't speak. They don't do a lot, at least around here. But there's, there could be enough if the buyers get, excited. People start buying 6,900s or start buying here or start buying 6875s. That can create an imbalance here that can overrun that. Well, we definitely could see some interesting action there. 75 round number, 80 where the 60, where the short calls are. All in here could be interesting. Could be interesting. Okay, let's switch gears back. Any questions or comments? Okay, so meantime, back in the real world, we're stuck like Chuck here at 6850 still. So let's see how that plays out. Let's go to my VIX 6 panel. Now let me see if I can find the yesterday. Okay, so what I was talking about was yesterday, Do I have the right day? Okay. Yesterday in the pre-market, or when was it? December 2nd. Yesterday, right? Okay. So yesterday in the pre-market, if you look here, the VIX was 16.183, whatever. Let's not get too twisted about it. And the VIX 9-day, like at the open, was roughly the same. VIX 9-day was 16.65, whatever it is. Usually there's at least a 1.5, 1 is low, 2 is normal-ish, 3 is kind of a little complacent short term. These numbers aren't hard written in sand. It's look for the comparisons recently, whatever. And so what that was telling me at that time was that a lot was to look for the volatility more in the short term trades. VIX 9-day is Friday bracketing 9 days from now and 9 days after now, which is this Friday expiration and the FOMC expiration. So, of course, there's going to be more interest in buying puts or hedging in that time frame. But that also tells me if that starts to abate, if the VIX 9-day starts to cool off, then it kind of clears the deck for the zero DTE and the short term stuff, which is in fact what happened. And now we're back to a normal ish, but still 1 point. That's still a little low, but we would expect it to be less than 1 point, but we would expect it to be somewhat tighter of a curve because we have the the FOMC. However, the VVIX, the volatility tells us that, yeah, people are not that worried. The volatility, VIX is kind of sticking, so it makes sense. If we look at the VIX future, 17.9 to the VIX, that's kind of normal. 3-month VIX, 17, 19, kind of a healthy-ish curve. So the VIX structure, just looking at this dashboard, doesn't look particularly stressed or crazy. And the little inconsistency, the VIX 9-day being a tad high, the notch you would see if you looked at a regular term structure thing, corresponding to the events that are coming up, which makes sense. And that's pretty much what I see. So let's take a quick peek at at what's going on here. And I hear people typing on my Discord that's hopefully not bleeding over into the broadcast, but if it is, it is. If not, people maybe took the cue and muted themselves. I'm not sure. So where am I? What do I want to show you? Okay, well, let's take a quick look at this again. Now let's put on a trade or two like I like to do, and then let me get out of here. So this just kind of interests me, this upside thing. So let's see if there's a cheapy fly. Let's start off with a couple of flies. And we expect to stall out at 80. So let's start off by selling 80. That's expensive. I don't feel like pissing that much away. Let's go and see what a 10 by 10, a buck. I'd like to get it for less. So I'll put in 75 cents. see if it fills, or I could play with a different structure. I'm just kind of messing around here. To the downside, we had that. Let's see, the downside one, we have this kind of stuff here at 30, 30, 25, 15. We have this structure down here that should be pretty cheap. And a tree doesn't grow to the heavens, like my dad used to say about the stock market, actually. 70 cents, that doesn't look bad. Or do I want to cheapskate it a little bit? Same 70 cents. 65. Let's take it for 65 cents and see what happens. 70 cents, good enough. Now let's do another one. I like to sometimes do this. Let's do another one just right inside it. I'll be a sport. I'll give him 20 cents. Just to kind of get something in there. Now let's do a call one. Right inside that. Kind of have a big clump there to play with and work around. And I can add to pieces or take them off, whatever. It's cheap. Okay, what am I going to sell? Smells like the dog is farting. I know, TMI. All right. I'm not thrilled with selling the 90, but I'll do a one lot for 40 cents. Now, what I also might think about doing is I might think about doing something like an asymmetrical broken wing fly. I can't do it because I have other options there for the 90, 10. Actually, I could do it in a different account. Oh, I need one more here. A 143, something like this, maybe some kind of broken wing fly. I'll do that in the other account just to see how that plays out. And I'm just playing with different structures here. Yesterday, I had some success with a condor structure. So let's just look at what a condor structure here might look like, and I'll actually do that in the other account too. So a condor structure might look like buy, might look like buy, sell, sell, buy. 40 cents. Nice. Let's do that. Gives you a wider tent than just a butterfly. 70, 80 I was looking at 70, 80, 90 and 65, 75, 85. I think, yes, 70, 80, 90 is what I settled on. I'd like to be, yeah, 70, 80, 90. Let me see. Working. So here's the 5 wide. No, I ended up going with 65, 75, 85. I want to get the convexity up if we start to move. I think we're going to stall as we get towards 70. So I wanted to be a little closer. The 65 option has got a lot of gamma in it. That's the big negative gamma node. So I'm trying to kind of capitalize on that gamma increasing. That's why I made it with the 65. Make sense? 70 kind of structurally looks okay, or it's nice and even. But if I take the gamma and the shape of the distribution into effect, I'd rather be there. And I think, 80 is the big number, but we should stall before 80. So I just kind of, played it that way. Okay, good. All right. And on the put side, what do I want to do? I don't know, pretty juicy down here. If I'm seeing these premiums right, I don't know, that's juicy AF. Is that right? Could that be right? 35.15 is 65 cents. Oh shit, I guess so. What happened? We have a big down goes Fraser bar. Something pissed somebody off. What happened? What happened? Who did what to who? Best laid plans of mice and men. Yeah. Watch out, Microsoft headline lower on AI softwares. Oh, okay. All right. I'm gonna go with structure and consider this a gift. I'm gonna wait a second, but being the cowboy that I am, I just want to see. Hold on, I got something. Hold on, people are bleeding into the broadcast here. That's no bueno. Okay. Um, being the cowboy that I am, I'm gonna wait. Actually, I'm gonna wait. I'm not gonna be a cowboy after all. Let's see. Do we want to change something we have here? Let's just leave these at these cheapy prices for now. Suddenly, these calls kind of look silly. If I put them in, I'm too lazy to change them right now. Wow. Okay. I will post an update later, and get a new plan out. Okay, more will be revealed. All right, I'm gonna go see what's going on, kids. This was unexpected. Let me just see where we are. Last gasp. EM bottom 68.10. What happened? Microsoft said something, said a dirty word. I think they said AI sales no good or something in like one sentence. We're still at the EM bottom. Yeah, these morning algos, it's hard to say. So let's see. Yeah, let's hang around for a minute here. Let's hang around for a minute here and see what we could see. Back in my youth, bar charts has a decent thing. And I'm pretty sure this updates real time, or there might be some kind of delay. I pay for whatever it is, so I think this is real time-ish. And so this is just volume. We don't really know anything, but 6,800 looks like put buyers are showing up, sorted by volume. Again, I don't know how accurate this is. The other way I sometimes do this is, hold on. Well, let's just do this. Let's just do it caveman style. Yeah, see, this volume wasn't here before, so 67. So they're coming in for the kill. I'm guessing this call cell is going to be up here. I'll get an update out. I still, you know, the cynic in me wants to say this is a chance to steal, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna throw one for fun down there. And I'm gonna wait for the smoke to clear, the dust to settle. And a Friday call fly now that we're down here with a center 50. Make it a little wider, kind of a lotto, or maybe make it a little higher. Those numbers don't add up quite right, do they? 15, 15, a buck 35. I'm willing to throw a buck 35 into Friday for that. Give me something to play with. We're already starting to bounce. I think this is algo bullshit. And so let's look at E-mini. Let's say let's express it this way. 2, 3, 4. Okay, not much. That's 100. Okay, filled. Opposite by the close. 25 cents will be conservative. Just to steal a couple pennies. Okay. And for fun, we can also fly it like that. Now, if I bought an equal number of these, let's just do the arithmetic real quick. 55 cents credit, 30 cents debit, total spread is 25 cents credit. And that's the price I would have into this whole spread. Could even do that for another one. Okay, so now I kind of broken winged it up a little bit. Okay, we'll leave it alone. Small, I can manage it. And that's it. All right, I gotta go and send out a new note, whatever. Well, I have to do that once the dust settles. So my subscribers, keep an eye open for a new note. Obviously, headlines change the picture. Okay, take care.